So when sure trades come out, you got to act on that day or the next day. Otherwise, you're going to miss what the forecast is telling you.
We have a question from Dennis. Todd, he asked, actually I answered this. He just wanted to know how many sure trades per month we do, and typically we do 2 to 3 sure trades per month. Sometimes if market conditions are tough, there'll only be 1 or 2, but actually recently we've put out quite a few.
Yeah, since the market is more volatile now and it has shifted a behavioral direction, more buy opportunities are coming up for sure trade status. I know yesterday, without disclosing exactly what the forecast was, we put a sure trade status on General Electric. And the stock just fit the profile. We already had a buy rating on it going back to the March 9th range, but it generated a sure trade status yesterday at $12.25. So over the course of the next 17 days, that's where we should see our rate of return. And to reiterate, I don't put sure trade status on these stocks unless they have at least 10% upside, but I'm looking for 20 to 30% returns.
Okay. Let's hear, Todd, are there any other, I think we covered all of the sure trades we wanted to cover today, right?
Yeah, I've covered the general market. I've covered the 5 of our recent, since the beginning of the year, sure trades. I've talked about how it works and, some of the methodology behind it. As hopefully you can appreciate, I'm not going to share all the details of what makes Pro 17 work. But for purposes of understanding how Pro 17 does operate and how it generates its buys and its sells, I'm going to use information and pictures like this graph that you're familiar with, so you don't have to relearn anything. You're going to stay within the same systems you're already using. You're just going to have a new tool to make a decision on when you should buy and sell. And so far, since we've offered Pro 17 from the public, we're over 90% accurate on at least 1,000 different stocks. So, it's not necessarily, if I get emotional about a stock and I start to love a stock too much, and if I don't believe in Pro 17, I tend to lose myself. If I rely on Pro 17 to help me make my own picks, it gives me the ability to really produce on a high level.
Okay, so let's get into some questions we've got here. We've got some good questions. Eli has asked, is there a version of the Pro 17 method that works on an intraday basis, hour or minute close prices versus daily close prices?
It does, but on a subscription basis like this, we can't offer the service as a day-to-day service for our investors or our subscribers. And the reason is when I trade on a day-to-day basis, once you learn the language and you identify the points of some of the tools that I'm using to help you define that, you're going to be able to translate that onto an intraday basis. It does work intraday, but it's still, you're not going to be 90% accurate. You're going to be 70 to 80% accurate on your trading decisions. So I don't operate as an investment banker or broker anymore. I don't provide buying and selling services. So I don't watch the stocks on a daily basis. I look at them at the end of the day. I do the analysis. I forecast it out for you to help you make a decision the following day, or at least in the next 2 days.
Okay, we've got another question here from, hope I'm pronouncing this right, Divyendu. They asked, how do you determine the beginning of a cycle for different stocks?
Well, I take the last 5 17-day count. So I'll go back for the last 3 to 5 months, and I'll pick points where I think the 17-day cycle is hitting on. I average those out, and it'll typically give me, it'll typically be on a day like this right here. If you look at first, third, on that peak right there is going to be, that's either the end or the beginning of a 17-day cycle. So instead of me counting forward, I count backwards. So I'll count backwards, and typically on one of these peaks or valleys, it's going to line up with this tool right here, 8/17-day, because those are the numbers I implemented. That 17-day inside the MACD is that day. So if you count back from right here to that day, that's roughly going to be right around the 17-day mark. It's not always exact, but more times than not, you're going to be amazed that from the day, if you get a stock profile on the day of the 17th, it's either going to peak or valley exactly on the 17th day. And our subscribers, in the feedback I get from the subscribers inside of our weekly conference calls, is they're going, well, how did you know it was going to peak out that day? I don't know. It's not me. It's the system. It's the behavior of people. It's predictable. You know, unless something extraordinary happens in the market or to an individual stock, we're going to be able to determine that. So what I tell the subscribers is 10% of the time we're going to be absolutely wrong. So we're going to miss a stock that falls 50%, or we're going to miss a buyout, or we're going to miss something that that the system just did not pick up. But in general, if all things being equal, no extraordinary events in the market, you're going to perform inside the forecast that the system provides. So hopefully that answers the 17-day question. That's how I do it. And then you're going to be able to take 5 17-day, from the point you put your request in for analysis and you start counting out, if you watch your next 3 to 6 17-day cycles, you're going to see performance that's right in line with analysis, and it will be in the 90% accuracy range.
Here's a question from Colin, and actually I've got a question like this just from another subscriber the other day. Will you provide more shorts for us? And it's kind of funny because when back in October, we were getting a lot of questions from potential subscribers saying, hey, do you guys do anything other than recommend shorting or buying puts? So really it's a product of the overall market and where we're seeing things. Recently, most of our recommendations and most of our forecasts have been to the positive side, and that's why the market's gone up, and that's why we've done very well in our forecasts. Conversely, 6 months ago, pretty much everything we looked at, we were suggesting that you either short it or stay away from it.
Yeah, and going back to when we first put this program together for general population use, which was last January, it was January 28th. We took all the Jim Cramer picks at that time. We did the markets. We forecasted 28 stocks, including the S&P and the NYSE and all these other companies. And there was 1 or 2 long positions in there, and the rest were short. We were absolutely right on the longs, and we were absolutely right on the shorts, and we hit their numbers. So we called the collapse of Lehman Brothers. We called the collapse of the market. We called the collapse of Goldman Sachs that nobody thought could be beat up. And it's because the system tells you what's going to happen if you rely on the 17-day cycle. It's very, very critical. So if you deviate away from the system on your decision-making, most of the time you're going to be wrong, including myself. If I stay within the system and just do what the system tells me, it gives me the ability to maximize rate of return. But in my opinion, it's still more importantly protecting your assets. You have to have that money moving forward to continue to generate positive return.
Okay, here's a question from Dennis. Dennis asks, do many of your subscribers buy out-of-the-money calls or puts to increase the ROI? Dennis, yeah, actually a lot of our subscribers do trade options. Everyone's got their own methodology. Some like to do out-of-the-money. Some like to do in-the-money. Of course, it depends upon the situation of the particular stock. And we have a lot of guys doing a lot of very sophisticated options trading, getting into many different kinds of spreads. Really, the Pro 17 system is designed to be able to complement your existing trading system. So if you're an options trader and you like to do out-of-the-money options, we're going to help you be more successful in that. Todd, did you want to add anything on that?
Yeah, what I would add to that is the Pro 17 is going to give you your pivot point. It's going to identify at what price you should make your decisions